Welcome to Broom Talk, the podcast where healers, witches, magic makers gather to share their journeys, their magic, and their truths. I'm your host, Priestess Melissa of Enchanted Dragonfly, inviting you to take a seat at the broom circle because the real magic is in the stories we tell. So let's stir the cauldron and speak the spell. So I have a magical being with me today. So tell us your name and your business name.
Yeah, my name's Elizabeth Korchari. I also go by Beth, and I'm the founder and owner of Lotus and Lion Counseling and Wellness, which initially started as Lotus and Lion Counseling and Coaching. But since I created my business, I've added some other offerings. And so it's feeling a lot more holistic these days, which I love.
Awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
And we are hosting her Reiki classes here, 1, 2, and 3, and masters, teacher masters. So you'll find the links for those classes in our website. So go check it out. So what is it that you do? Tell us a little bit about that.
What is it that I do? So I do a lot of different things. So I guess I can start with what I started with. In my career, I started off as a therapist, and since that time I've evolved, and I do not only traditional therapy, consultation, training. I've also added energy medicine to my offerings, and that's been really exciting. Nice. So I offer Reiki as well for humans and for animals, because I am an animal lover. I have 16 pets of my own. I could talk for a whole hour about them. Nice. Because they are my magical beings. So yeah, I offer traditional therapy, and depending on, where my clients are at, I might be able to do a little bit more intuitive counseling. Some people prefer more traditional. I was trained in cognitive behavioral therapy eons ago, 25 years ago. So, the concept of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors all being connected is something that's just in me. So that is kind of part of the counseling that I do. But it's been really interesting as I walked my spiritual path. I can tell some of my clients are also on that path, and they like to talk about other things like intuition and crystals and other things that I love. So that's awesome. It's a nice mix.
Yeah. And I love that, you don't hear too many Reiki healers giving that healing to animals. So I love hearing that. Awesome.
They're so open.
Yeah.
They're not closed-minded in any way, so you don't have to deal with any of the barriers that sometimes happen, because humans can be a little skeptical sometimes, and that makes total sense. But animals are just like, I'm here and I'm ready for it.
Yeah, nice. Bring it on. Yeah. Awesome. And where are you located?
So for my therapy practice, I'm strictly telehealth. So I'm located anywhere you're located. In Massachusetts is where I'm licensed. In terms of practicing Reiki, I do a couple of things. And so I know you had Julie from Dragonflies and Amber on your podcast recently. That is where I practice Reiki, at Dragonflies and Amber in the Manchac Mills in Sutton. Nice. And so that's just a lovely community space for any kind of healer like myself. To go and to just have a nice, safe space to practice whatever it is that we do. So I do my Reiki there, but I also do spiritual pop-up events, I call them, where there might be a healing event somewhere. So my favorite one that I've done recently is at the only Kava bar in Massachusetts, which is newly opened, I think it was this past February, on Harding Street in Worcester. Nice. And so they have a healing night there about once a month. And I started doing that for them this summer, and I loved the energy in that space so much that I decided that I would just work there one day a week. So nice. I serve kava there, one night a week. It's a really nice atmosphere because we don't serve alcohol, so the vibe is just like so chill. There's a lot of like-minded conversations going on there. So I do my healing there when they want me to, and sometimes I just serve kava.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah,
Thank you for that. Nice. And how did you start doing what you do?
Yeah, so I feel like my story began, I don't know, I guess when I came into this human form, because I remember even as a child, my friends, my family coming to me just to talk, because I just was able to really be present and listen. I also seemed to attract animals, not only my pets, but like hurt animals, like birds, and just I would bring them home, and people would be like, "What are you doing with that bird?" I'm like, "But it's hurt and it needs saving." So I've always just kind of attracted that, even as a child. And I was the kid that fully believed in aliens and ghosts. And my friends were like, "Okay, you like creepy things." I'm like, "No, aliens are definitely real. There's no way we're the only creatures in existence. And of course spirits exist, because when you die, you don't just go nowhere." Like as a kid, I was just like, this is just the way that, and my friends are like, "Okay, you like horror movies and things about aliens." And I'm like, "Okay, you don't get it, but that's okay." So I was in some ways a little misunderstood as a kid, but I was okay with it. My own mother, love her so dearly. She is one of my hugest inspirations. She really struggled, her whole life. And as a kiddo, I was very aware of that struggle, that kind of deep depression. What I came to learn as I got older is I knew this as a kid, she was adopted. She was taken from her biological family due to just abuse, neglect, just really horrible. She was adopted into a lovely family, but still continued to struggle in her life, just with different traumas, accidents. She had a lot of back pain because she had been in a bus accident as well as an accident on a horse. So she struggled a lot, and she was one of the people who would often come to me. Like I'm her daughter, she's my mom, and yet we had this relationship where she would come to me when she was really struggling. And even as a kid, I thought, I don't know what to say to make this better, because kids were like, there's got to be something I can do. As a kid, you just think it's, and so I tried my hardest. I felt like I wasn't very effective, but I remember thinking very young, there's got to be a better way, because I knew she was in her own therapy. I knew it wasn't helping. I saw her take all kinds of medication. Nothing was helping. I know she had all kinds of treatments that didn't work, because, in the 80s, I was born in 1980, in the 80s and, late 70s, care was not the same as it is today. We've come a long way. We haven't come as far as we could. But I remember thinking, maybe one day I could understand my mom a little bit better. So I decided to become a therapist. I was like the 12-year-old that knew what they wanted to be when they grew up. And it wasn't just a ballerina or a princess or an astronaut. It was like, no, I'm going to be a therapist. So that was kind of like what got me into that, from a very young age. Just people coming to me and me wanting to help, and me wanting to provide something that I didn't feel was present, which is, help for those who are a little misunderstood. So I assumed that my mom had PTSD and maybe undiagnosed postpartum depression.
Possibly.
And she was treated as if she were lazy and stupid and unmotivated. And I thought, no, there's got to be a better way. So that was kind of my inspiration and how I got started on my journey as a therapist. And my journey as a Reiki practitioner came a little bit later in life. But that's kind of how I got started.
The embodiment of a wise beyond her years, right?
Yeah.
You started very young, but you were like speaking of someone who had years and years of experience, So
yeah, I've always felt like maybe older than I always was.
Yeah,
in
old
that
soul
way.
maybe.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I can see that. Nice. What type of practitioner are you?
So as I mentioned, I'm kind of a dual practitioner. So I do counseling and coaching, and I do that in the traditional sense. And I also, do it a little bit differently for those who want something a little bit different. And I'm also a Reiki practitioner, trained in Usui Reiki, also currently studying and training in Reiki shamanism, because I really connect with a lot of those practices. And I find Reiki is just one of many tools of shamanism. So I'm really excited as I'm starting to bring some of that to my work as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that. It sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you. What's your spiritual origin story or an awakening moment?
Yeah. So I told you my kind of therapy origin story. My spiritual origin story is I would say multi-layered. So let me just try to give the most succinct version without doing it an injustice. So as I was studying to become a therapist, I actually lost my mom. to her illness.
Sorry.
And it was devastating for me. She was my inspiration to become a therapist. I knew I was never going to be her therapist. However, it was just a devastating blow while I was going to school. I was working full time because, I was paying for college. And in the midst of all that, I lost my mom. And
I'm sorry.
It was the first time that I really sat and thought hard about what truly does happen after we go.
Yeah.
Because I always knew, like, the spirit world exists. And, I really struggled with that. And I was going through a particularly rough patch in my life. And I always had this sense that my mom was around, that she was supporting me as one of my guides. I was going through a really rough patch. I had just left an abusive marriage and was going through a really high conflict divorce. And a friend of mine who actually was, someone who introduced me to things like healing crystals and Reiki and all of these things. She said, I'm going to this dinner. It's an event with a medium. And would you like to come? And, I was like, yeah, I'm open to all of that. So I definitely want to come. And we went to this event and I went in just with the most open mind possible. And wouldn't you know, my mom came to me in that event through the medium. And I'd never met this woman before in my life. I never had any experience with a medium before this. And she came over to me and she shared something with me that my mom used to say when I was little. Amongst other things that she shared, she said, no matter where you are or no matter where I am, she was speaking for my mother, I am always in your heart. And that's something that my mom said to me as a kid when I was really missing her, because I didn't grow up living with my mom because of her struggles. And she would say that to me. And it was like, in that moment, it was so validating. I was like, yeah, you are here. And now I really know it. And I started looking for signs of her. It's not that I wasn't looking before, but it's almost like that moment opened me up so much to that. And then I started really doing some of my own healing work through my, because of my divorce and the loss of my mom. And I got, the opportunity to have Reiki done on me. And it was just, I can't even describe how I felt. It felt so powerful and so different. I can't, everyone experiences it differently, but it was, and I actually ended up going back and getting Reiki from the medium that my mom came to, because she is just this amazing woman who does so many different things. And then recently, when I decided, I think it would be really powerful to learn Reiki, I went back to her, and she hadn't taught Reiki in quite some time, but she said, I was waiting for you to come and ask me to train you in Reiki. I said, you were? She said, oh yeah, I've been waiting for years now. And so she did Reiki level 1 with me. And then by that time, other people were interested in like level 2 and level 3. So I took all 3 levels with her. And by the 2nd level, she said to me, Beth, I felt really called to do your 3rd attunement in this moment, because it's right there. It's already in you. Like, you actually don't even need all of this logistical, like, she's like, it's in you, but I want to give you time to integrate and come back for the 3rd class. And, that 2nd attunement was so powerful. That's the emotional attunement where, and so by the 3rd attunement, and becoming a Reiki master, I just felt like a different person. It was almost like I felt my own power, but not in a power over someone else kind of way, a power like within me, and a power to, and I felt really called to also empower other people, which has always been my work in therapy. I don't treat people like a diagnosis or a set of symptoms. I treat someone like a whole human being with a mind and a body and a soul. And I just, like, it clicked. It felt so in line with what I was doing in my therapy practice. And part of what I'm excited to do is to empower other people to learn Reiki, because way back when it was this secret that people held on to, being a Reiki master, like no one wanted to share that knowledge. But that's really not the way any of this is meant to be. We're all here on this world, and my goal is really just to empower other people and help them heal, and then help them learn how to heal other people, because I'm just one person.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's a beautiful story.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Who or what inspires your path the most?
So I would say my kids.
Oh.
My kids who are now 11, my daughter's 11, my son is almost 14, going on 40. He is another wise beyond his years kind of boy.
Yeah.
They're both just so smart and wise, and they teach me so much as a person. But they really have inspired me to make all of the most difficult decisions in my life. Whenever I was faced with what felt like an obstacle that seemed too hard to overcome, I would close my eyes and think about, how will this decision affect these two beautiful faces, not just now, but later on when they're older, and what do I want them to see in me? And so the decision to end my marriage, the decision to leave my job of 21 years. I worked in nonprofit for 21 years. I specialized in treating folks who struggled with suicidal thinking. That was my life's work. And when I decided to open my own practice, it was so that I could have as much flexibility as I needed to just be there for whatever they needed from me. So my kids are really the biggest inspiration in my life, and I love them so much.
Aw, oh, I love that. That's nice. What is your daily spiritual or magical practice?
So this is kind of a funny one. It's a big joke in my house. The day starts with what we call the animal train, because I have 16 pets, and they're all indoor pets, if you can believe that. And so my day, first of all, I start my day by trying my hardest not to even look at my phone. Like I just don't even want that to be part of what I do when I open my eyes. So I go downstairs and I hit brew on the coffee pot, because we need coffee to keep going in the morning. And then I make sure every pet I own has fresh food and fresh water. And I call it the train because sometimes people get on the back of the train and I'll have 2 dogs follow me around, maybe a cat, maybe I'll have a bird on my shoulder. And by the end, everyone is happy. And then I sit with my daughter, who loves my ritual in the morning, which after the animal train, I take 2 of my tarot or oracle decks. I have a collection, and I pull 2 different decks every week. And I sit and I light a candle for my mom. And I say good morning to her and have, chit chat. And my kids have never met my mom, but they know her, through these rituals and through the pictures. And then I will pull a card from each deck, and I will sit and after I set an intention or ask a question and I pull the card, I really sit and I think about, what does that card mean to me? And so this morning I pulled 2 cards, 2 different decks, and they were both had the number 17 on them. And I was like, ooh. And I'm a very curious person. I'm always learning, and I don't know a lot about numerology. I dabble. So I'm like, I'm going to look this up. So I did a little spiritual research, and I'm like, ooh, this is about like intuition. And it was almost talking about some of the things that I wanted to speak to today, which is like empowerment and intuition, and really getting grounded in that knowing that we're all born with, that we've been socialized almost to not trust because it's not factual or scientific. That gut instinct is so important.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
Yeah. So that's one of my rituals. That's like the one that I do every morning.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated that 17 came up twice like that.
I know.
That's awesome.
And they were 2 completely different decks. One was an animal spirit deck, and one was called the Good Tarot. They're both by Colette Baron-Reid. I love her tarot and oracle decks. Yeah. Great books, great decks. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. I'll have to check that out. What was your biggest challenge you faced on your journey, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, so our journeys are lifelong. So I would say in my younger years, when I had a lot of self-doubt, as we do, even as a new clinician, it was imposter syndrome, which is normal. But also, there were these people in my life, and they definitely taught me things. I didn't particularly care for them very much at the time, but there were things that I learned from these people, lessons that I needed to learn. So, for example, my father's second wife of almost 30 years, who really I lived with for most of my childhood, she was not a very nice person. They're no longer married. And she would say to me, as I am just launching into my first job. My first job out of grad school was in an adolescent, like a teen group home for teens struggling with self-injury and suicidal thoughts. And so I did individual therapy, group therapy, family therapy, crisis work. It was the most intense, challenging, rewarding job I've had in my career. And my stepmother at the time said, what qualifies you to do this type of, you don't even have your own family. And then I had a primary care physician who, because I scored high on the anxiety assessment at my annual physical, said, I think maybe you went into the wrong field. And I couldn't necessarily get rid of my stepmother, but I never went back to that primary care doctor.
Interesting.
I've also had people, when I chose my specialty, and it's not necessarily my only focus now, but earlier on in my career, my specialty was very focused on helping people who were struggling with suicidal thoughts. And I remember a coworker of mine, before I started my internship, said, oh, you're going to really hate that. Those people are so manipulative. And my blood was boiling, and I bumped into her at a conference, I don't know, maybe 10 years later. And she said, what are you up to? And I had obviously gotten promoted within my agency. I was there for 21 years. And I said, I'm still doing this and I love it. And I have a whole team of therapists now that I train to do this work. And, she was a little shocked at that. Or, my first husband just being the doubter of all things that I did. And so it was almost like I had to, even in the face of these doubters, even in the face of the haters, as we say, and having this really deep, almost like imposter syndrome, I just had to push through it. I just said, no, I'm not buying into that narrative, or I don't believe that. Yeah, I'm terrified. Yeah, I'm scared, but that doesn't mean I can't do it. And I just kept going. It just kept going.
I'm glad you did.
And now with my energy work, it's so wonderful. There are tons of naysayers out there for sure. I don't find myself around those people much anymore. But even my family, who doesn't quite understand yet the energy part of my work, they're very familiar with the therapy that I do. I've gotten some of them to soften a little bit. I had a family member who had a surgery, and she said to me, would you do some energy work with me? And she was shocked. And she was like, I can't even describe the way. And it was just it was really emotional for me, because I love her so much. And to see that she got comfort and help in that way, it was like, that's why I do what I do.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And a lot of people don't realize that we are energy. So of course we're going to feel it, and it's a natural thing to do. And a lot of times the naysayers, that's their own feelings about the thing that they're naysaying about. They try to project it on, almost like they're trying to convince who they're talking to also be that naysayer. But a lot of times we're like, no.
Right. The logical mind doesn't quite get energy work. So I almost have these little workarounds, and I'll say, well, we're all made of energy, right? I'm like, well, put your hand up to mine. What do you feel? It's warm.
Really?
Yeah. Or like, everything we look at is essentially moving. We just can't see it. It's all vibrating.
Yes.
And then people are like, okay. And I start to see them soften a little bit. So I never push anything with anyone. I just give a little information, then I back up a little bit. And if they want to come forward, awesome. And if not, that's totally okay too. That's totally fine with me.
I love it.
Yeah.
Nice. Something. What tools, methods, or spirits guide your work?
So many tools. So many tools. So, for Reiki, I mentioned the shamanism is a big piece. I didn't really even know I was doing it until I went to the Reiki shamanism class, and my shaman teacher said, that's shamanism. When I'm working on someone and I feel something stuck, and I just have the urge to just like move it a little bit or pull it out a little bit, I didn't realize that's a little bit of what I was doing. So that's been a really helpful tool. In my therapy, there are countless tools. I can't really name them all. One of the things that I started with from day one in my therapy practice was mindfulness and meditation. And that has followed through everything I do. It's part of what I teach people, because we live in a world that is kind of anti-mindfulness, not intentionally, but like I used to joke and say, I've interviewed a lot of therapists, and no one ever puts on their resume the ability to be one mindful, or the ability to sit and be present. It's the ability to work in a fast-paced environment and multitask. And it's like, so we've been socialized to just go, go, go. And I think slowing down is really necessary.
I agree.
So that's a huge tool for me, for my clients that I work with, and in my everyday practice.
Yeah. Nice. Good advice. What is one common misconception about your craft or your work?
There are so many about both. So it's funny when, sometimes when I tell people I'm a therapist, they look very scared and they say, wait, are you analyzing me right now? And I'm like, oh, okay, you've seen some movies. I get it. Like, they're like, do your clients lay on a couch? I'm like, no, I don't do psychoanalysis, although that has its place. So a common misconception is that therapists and psychiatrists they're like shrinking you. They're like trying to reduce you to a diagnosis or a set of symptoms, or that is not at all what I do. And I have some clients who, when they terminate because they're either moving out of state or they've reached their goals, I've had clients say, you don't really feel like a therapist to me, you feel more like a coach. And to me, that's like, I'm just a beacon of light that shows you, like, if you feel like you've gotten off track or you're lost, I'm like the lighthouse saying over here, and then I'm going to give you tools and I'm going to teach you how to use them. And then you're going to go off and do that. So I'm like, in my therapy, it's about empowerment, not about shrinking or analyzing.
Right.
We do talk about the past when it's relevant, because our past informs our present. It doesn't dictate it, for sure. Right. A common misconception about Reiki, I always say, oh, is that little voodoo thing that you do? And it's like said it's said in jest and like good fun, but it's like, Reiki is not a cult. It's not a religion. No. And it's not, I'm not even actually the one healing you when I'm doing Reiki. I am the channel. Yes. It is not my energy I'm giving you. I'm actually getting the energy at the same time you are. So when I heal you, I heal me too. And that's a very weird thing for people to understand. Like, what is this life force energy? This is the energy we're all made of. And when we leave this earth, like, that energy is there. Yeah. Like, right? And so that's another really common misconception, that I'm the healer. And they're like, oh gosh, like, what is it about you? Like, you can do it too. Yeah. Like, you can learn how to do that too. And actually it is within you already. You just have to remember it.
Yes. Yeah. And it's fascinating that a lot of people think it's like Beth is walking around with all this, like, she's going to go supernova if she doesn't do Reiki. She's going to poof, but you're just a channel for it.
Yeah.
Can you share a powerful or memorable client transformation?
Oh gosh, so many. I sometimes think of myself. I'm like, I'm my own client sometimes, and I just think about the transformation I felt when I got my Reiki attunements. It changed me forever. I don't doubt myself in the same ways that I used to. It feels like intuition is just always right there, where before I had to really dig. And I just have more self-awareness. So for me, that was transformative. In terms of a client, I've had clients that come to me and they say, like, I have this client recently, oh my gosh, I really loved working with her. And she came to me because she had really severe social anxiety, and she was in college, and she was really struggling to present in class, just to be like present in social situations, because her anxiety was just so kicked up. And by the time she discharged from therapy, it was because she had graduated. She had gotten offered a full boat scholarship for grad school back in California, where she was from, and she landed herself a full-time position as a sports journalist.
Wow.
And she was just thanked me like so much. And I said, no, this was all you. Again, I'm your guide. And we joked and said, if I was licensed in California, we'd still be meeting because we'd be working on something else. Yeah. Right. So, I see these stories of people that come in and they feel like they're broken. Like a lot of my first sessions, and it's all over telehealth, people will be hiding under a hoodie and it's kind of dark. And then by the end of our sessions, it's like, I can see the difference. Yeah. They feel more confident. They feel like more powerful in their own self. And so, yeah, it's really something. It's so rewarding. Nice. And I always say I feel blessed that everything I do, my work, I love it. It doesn't feel like work in the traditional sense.
Yeah. A lot of introverts. Huh?
Yeah.
Nice. I'm glad that you're able to help so many people. What sacred self-care practices keep you aligned?
Yeah, I really, in terms of self-care, one of my kind of resets at the end of the day is sitting quietly and just kind of thinking about my day, and then the animals come in and flock to me. So I'll have a dog and a cat, and sometimes I'll grab some of my animals that can't come on their own, and I just kind of sit there. And the weirdest thing is they all get along. They never, like, people are like, your cat doesn't try to go after your bird. Like, your dog doesn't go after the lizard. I'm like, no, can't explain it.
Nice.
But I sit with them. I also really, really love just taking a drive at the end of the day, whether that's to a peaceful place, whether that's to, the kava bar where I love to hang out. It's just such a nice vibe. Or even just a shower and just like cleanse the day off. Right. So I have a few go-to things that I like to do for my own self-care.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That's good to have. What does success look like to you as a spiritual business owner?
That's a really good question. So for me, I've always thought about how I'm just one person. And you could look at that a number of ways. I'm just one person. How could I even make an impact in the world, right? And for me, I think of it as I'm one person and I can help as many people as I can in the time that I have. I can also teach people. So I like to teach new therapists. I like to teach people Reiki. I can teach people how to do that. And it reminds me of, it's a metaphor, and it's kind of, I think it's attributed to the Buddha. And I'm trying to remember the exact phrasing, but basically it's a candle can light as many candles as it needs to. It doesn't diminish that initial candle.
Right.
So to me, success in my business is that ripple effect. When my clients say, I thought about what you said and I told my friend, or, we talked about this in our session and then it came up for me and I was like, yeah, I know exactly what to do there. Or, just seeing the impact, whether it's one person or more, to me, that's success. That's what feels like success.
Nice. And I love the candle visual. Like, that's so true. Like, you could teach and relight or light up somebody or something else.
Yeah.
And it's not going to diminish you. There's so much in the world, not just in the world, but the universe. Like,
I remember prior to my Reiki training, I took a life purpose class, and it was such a cool class. And my teacher had said to me, your purpose is to find your light and to teach other people how to do that too. Oh, and I thought, oh, cool. I like that. That actually really resonated with me. So I hold on to that little memory too with the Buddha's metaphor. And I'm like, yeah, that's success.
Nice. I love it. Do you follow the moon, astrology, or seasonal cycles in your work?
Yeah. I mean, all of those things are so impactful, and they have an impact on, everything. The seasons, the moon, the tides, all of that affects us whether or not we're aware of it. And I talk a lot, in Reiki, I don't do a ton of talking, but with my therapy clients, we obviously are always talking about if it's the season that they enjoy or not. Like for me, it took me the longest time to realize that winter, even though like temperature wise is my least favorite season, I need the winter, because without the winter, I just don't stop. Like I need to be told to slow down, because I'm always just like, what's next? What's next? I'm excited about everything that I do. And in the winter, I'm forced to slow down because I don't like driving in the snow. And I don't particularly like being cold. So it's a time to almost, I wouldn't say hibernate, but like to really slow down and look inside. And each season is kind of like that. Spring, renewal, summer is like energy and activity. Fall is like letting go, so I do really think about that a lot in my own life and in my work.
And it's important to stop and recollect yourself. So it's good that you're able to utilize that time to help yourself.
Yes.
Right? And
Yeah.
grow and go forward, because we're always learning, we're always growing.
We are. That's true.
What's something you wish more people knew about energy work, divinations, rituals, what have you?
I wish that people knew that it's okay to ask more questions.
Right. Nice.
I remember when I was younger, I would be embarrassed to ask questions that I thought either I should know the answer to, or maybe I just wasn't meant to know it because for whatever reason, or that I should know everything already. And I've become quite comfortable saying, I know a lot about a little. I know a lot about therapy. I know a lot about Reiki. I don't know everything about everything. Right. So I always say, ask me questions. Like, don't be shy about that. And also, don't feel like going to a Reiki practitioner or even therapy is admitting that you are broken or weak.
Yeah, you're not.
Even if your pieces are a little out of place, and when we use the word disorder, I'm like, that's my least favorite word. I just think things are out of order. Things are just out of order, and that's okay. I've been in positions in my life where things were very out of order, and I'm okay, even though that's true. So it's not a weakness. It doesn't mean you're broken or that things are not, you're not able to heal or grow.
Right. Exactly. It's important to ask questions. And what was the saying? The only dumb question is one not asked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Absolutely.
Yeah. If you could give one piece of advice to somebody just starting their path, what would it be?
I would say, try to be as open as possible. Try to be as present as possible when you open yourself up, because if not, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss it. And you'll notice, and my shaman teacher calls them divine arrows. If you're open to seeing them, there are little things that point you in the right direction. If you're willing and open to seeing them. And that's really how my spiritual path, it almost like exploded. It just took off. It was like Reiki 1 and then boom. Yeah. You're like Reiki master. And I was like, how did that happen? It was so quick, but it just felt so right because I was ready for it and I was open to it and I was looking for those arrows,
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. What magic are you currently brewing? We know we have to keep things in the journal until they're released. But if you want to share any events that you're currently doing,
I would love to. So obviously, the Reiki class that I'll be doing here is going to be one level per month, starting in September, and you'll, I'm sure, be putting more about that in your podcast notes. So I'm very excited about that. Let's see, what else am I brewing? I am in the process of getting a lot of my thoughts down on paper because I'm ready to write a book.
Ooh, nice.
And the book is like written in my head. And even as I kind of thought about what I wanted to say today when I was here with you, I'm like, there's so much of my story. And it's not an ego thing. It's not like I think my story is so different from yours or anyone else's, but I have felt when people have shared their story with me and been vulnerable with me, I feel so much less alone. And I know I'm going to be okay. Like, and I can share and when I have shared my story, and I do disclose in therapy, not in great detail and not to the extent where my clients ever feel like they need to be helping me. But I will share that I grew up my whole life. I've been an anxious person, and I've had to learn how to navigate that and really tune into anxiety, not as like, oh my God, this is terrible, but like, what is this telling me?
Yeah.
What is it, So I think being vulnerable and sharing stories, it's so healing for other people. So I've got a book in my brain. Nice. I'm not sure when it's going to get onto paper, but that's what's brewing for me.
Awesome. Well, I'll read that book when you publish it. Awesome. Congratulations. That's awesome. And now I have some fun questions.
Okay.
So what is your sun, moon, and rising sign?
Oh, sun, moon, and rising. So sun, I'm a Virgo.
Me too.
Through and through.
Nice.
And I mean, it's funny to see this in my spiritual side because I'm a planner and I love lists and I like things to be orderly, but I also somehow learn when to just be flexible and let it all go.
Yeah.
And that took a while. And that really was a result of all my spiritual work. Because before I'm like, no, this is the way it is. And I like it this way. But change is good. So Virgo is my sun. My rising is, oh gosh, I always get my moon and my rise. So my moon is Sagittarius. No, my moon is Aquarius. And my rising is Sagittarius.
Fascinating. My rising is also Sagittarius.
Interesting.
Yeah. So when is your birthday?
August 25th.
Stop it. I'm the 27th.
No way. Yeah.
I love an August Virgo because there's like a lot. Like, if you guys don't know, there's August Virgos and there's September Virgos.
It's true.
August Virgos are a different breed.
Yes. My son is the day before me.
Interesting.
And yes.
Now it's like a goosebump. I like
know.
that.
Yeah. So Virgo through and through, but also I definitely kind of feel my Sagittarius come through at different times too.
Nice. Yeah. Oh yeah. I feel it. Yeah. Because I got the two. My moon is in Aries, so a lot of fire. That fire with the Earth sign. Yeah. We're passionate people. Just saying. Do you have a favorite crystal, herb, or tool that you always work with?
My gosh, crystals. If I walk in a crystal store like yours, and I could literally be in here for hours. I just love crystals. Even before I was doing, Reiki, I loved crystals. One of my favorites, and I wear a lot of my crystals. I have loose crystals, but I love wearing them and keeping them with me. And I find them helpful in my energy work. Moonstone is a real favorite of mine. It really feels very calming and centering. And Moonstone to me is like intuition. It's grounding. And I happen to be wearing a lot of Moonstone. Nice. I just noticed right now because it's just, to me, it just feels right. I don't know how else to explain it. I feel pulled toward it. Nice. And so I always have some sort of moonstone that I'm wearing.
I love that. Moonstone is beautiful. I love that. What is your magical nickname or archetype that you resonate with?
Magical nickname. I love this. So, in my house, people call me Supermom or Mama Bear. I've always kind of resonated with bear spirit and lion spirit, which is partly why my business has the name Lion in it. But I think I've always, even before being a mom, had this very fiercely protective side of me. If you're part of my tribe, I got you. I'm there for you. And so, Mama Bear or Super Mom or just Mom. Yeah. And it's actually, I joke, and my kids when they were younger, they're like, Mom, wow, you work a lot, because to kids, working 9 to 5 is a lot. And I always would say to them, yes. And my favorite job of all is being your mom. So I resonate most with my motherhood, but I feel like that part of me, it comes through in everything that I do. That caretaking part of me that sees someone hurting, even in their facial expression, and wants to see, is there something I can do for you? I've never met you before, but are you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Tea or tincture?
Tea. I love tea.
Tarot or runes?
Tarot for sure.
Cauldron or candle?
Candle. I can never have enough candles. My kids joke about it. They're like, she has way too many candles and way too many scarves. Yeah.
If your spirit guide had a voice, what would it sound like?
Oh, my spirit guide does have a voice. And that's my mom.
Aw, nice.
That's my mom.
And I know that you have pets. So would you like to talk about them for a few minutes?
For an hour. The rundown of pets. Okay. So yeah, I didn't start with 16 pets. So right now, my husband had 2 cats when I remarried last year. My best friend. Yes, thank you. My husband had 2 cats and I had 2 cats. So we blended that. We also have 2 dogs. We have 4 guinea pigs. Oh my goodness. They are the sweetest little floofers. I love them so much. I also have 2 bearded dragons, who are just they're so amazing. I have a hedgehog. We have 2 tropical birds.
Like parrots?
Yeah, so I have a black-capped conure and a green-cheeked conure, and they're just little lovies. And I also have a dwarf hamster. And it's my first hamster ever. I've been told that they bite a lot, but this hamster, he's never once bitten me. He comes out and he's like, "Hi, how you doing? You got a peanut for me?"
Dwarf, is he smaller than that?
Yeah, he's teeny, and he's got the cutest little face. I connect so much with animals that for me, they're my family. And people are like, how can you have that many pets? Like, do you ever get to go on vacation? I'm like, yes and no, not often.
Yeah.
But also to me, I finally at a place in my life where I feel like my home is my heaven. I found my home.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
it's not necessarily a physical building. It's just the space I created.
Yep, absolutely. Nice. Awesome. So those are all the questions I have for you today.
Well, this was so lovely.
You're
Thank you so
welcome.
much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Was there anything else that you wanted to add or talk about?
My goodness, I think I've said a lot. I don't think there's anything else I want to add, but just thanks so much for watching.
Absolutely. So go check her out. I will put her Facebook page link in here, and I'll put a link for the Reiki classes. And as always, come check us out at Enchanted Dragonfly, 99 Church Street, Whitensville, Massachusetts. And stay magical, blessed be, and we love y'all. Bye, guys.